If you have access to the exercise files that came with this project, open up the comp AEA Nesting 2-Common. If instead you're working out of our book, After Effects Apprentice 2nd Edition, we're in Lesson 6, open up the comp 06C-Nesting2.aep. Select this, click Open, and like with the previous chapter, we're going to open up the Finished Movie folder and watch a movie of the result we're trying to attain. Here you see we have a simple move on a map that is larger than our original composition, and 3 plates with different cities on them are popping up over time. Notice that those backing plates are identical for each of the cities. Whenever you have a common design element that you'll be using repeatedly inside a project, it's a great idea if you can create just one of them and then point back to that one original rather than recreate it from scratch every single time you need another one. That way, if you need to make a change to that basic template element, you just need to change it once instead of every time that you've used it. In this exercise file, we've given you that basic element. Inside the comps folder is a composition called MyPlate. The background element uses shape layers, which is a subject we'll cover in another After Effects Apprentice lesson, and it has some simple basic text, new location on top. I left myself a note that uses the Myriad Pro font. That's good to know, because I probably want to key off of that for any additional text I need to make. Okay, now I would like to add a city name on top of that plate. I do not want to do it in this composition on top of my one and only master plate. Instead, I will take my plate, drag it down to the Make a New Composition button, and nest it into a brand new comp. That way the original plate is left unmolested, but I can add elements to it in this second composition. I'm going to type Command-K on Mac, Control-K on Windows to open up the project settings and change the name to something that makes sense like City 1. Otherwise, it's inherited the same size, frame rate, and duration as that original template composition. Click OK. And now I want to add the text of my first city on top of this pre-comp of that master plate. I'm going to change my workspace to Text. If you do not see the character and paragraph panels appear, go ahead and select Reset Text to make sure you're back to this default workspace. I have a couple choices for how I lay out this text. For example, if I want the text to always be right justified along the edge of this plate, I can go ahead and choose Right Align in the paragraph panel, select my text tool, place my cursor, and start typing my first city, such as Denver, and I'll press Enter to accept that. It's not quite the right font, so I'm going to go ahead and change it from Minion Pro to Myriad Pro to match the new location. And I can pick a weight. For example, I might pick bold to make it stand up a little bit better, or even black to make it heavier. Speaking of black, I'll also change the master color to black to make that more visible. And finally, I might pump up the point size a little bit to 36, say. If I don't like this right justified look, I could also just change it to, say, centered text. I'll press V to return to my selection tool and center the text more or less inside this composition. I might press the apostrophe key to briefly bring on my action title safe to see where the center of my composition is. Or I can just press P for position and check it numerically as well. Now that I've created one of my city plates based off a master background plate, I can create additional city comps quite easily by duplicating this comp and editing the text. But before that, I want to make sure I'm happy with this text. For example, now that I look at this, I see that the E's look a bit funny in the city Denver, so let's try some variations on this font. Maybe if I go back down to just a bold weight, there we go, the text opens up and I find that to be more readable, particularly if I scale it down. Additionally, I think I'm going to go ahead and kern this a little bit, just to make this one city look a little bit better. There we go. Now that I'm happy with one of these cities, I'm going to select it inside my comps folder and duplicate it twice more to create 2 more cities. Note that whenever you have an element, such as a composition, that ends in a number, when you duplicate it, After Effects will automatically increment that number at the end. So now I have City 2 and City 3. I'll open up City 2, double-click the word Denver, and enter some different text like Dallas, enter. Double-click City 3 to open it up, double-click Denver to edit it, and enter a different city name like Chicago. Enter. So now I have one master background plate that's being reused in 3 different instances of city names. And just to emphasize that this is live, let's say I turned off this text for new location, you'll notice that that phrase now disappears from all these other comps. Go back to my plate, turn it back on again, and now it reappears. And hopefully you're already starting to think this might make life a lot easier later on, and I'll show that in a couple movies.